Brampton now, where Mayor Patrick Brown is making an infrastructure announcement.
Before I thank the federal government, I just want to recognize the Brampton councillors we have here today. We've got an incredible team in Brampton. Our council works in a united fashion, dedicated with real focus on public transit. So if I could recognize, if you could wave, we got our Deputy Mayor Harkirat Singh, we got Councillor Paul Vasante, Councillor Navjit Kaur Brar, Councillor Power, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Santos, Councillor Keenan, and are the chair of our Economic Development Committee, Councillor Gurpratab. Now, I was worried that the acoustics wasn't loud enough in here. We're going to have to work with our IT team, because when Minister Erskine Smith said $106 million, I thought we'd be a little bit louder. So can we try that again? Can we have an applause for Nate? There's a lot of zeros on $106 million. And I'm smiling today because we have a great relationship with the Government of Canada. We've actually been in this very same spot on a number of occasions for federal government announcements supporting public transit. So to Shafqat Ali, to Sonia Sadhu, to Kamel Kara, to Ruby Sahota, never get tired of coming here, okay? We appreciate the support for Canada's fastest growing public transit system. Brampton Transit has exploded with ridership. You know, when a lot of cities saw massive decreases in public transit during COVID, you saw in Brampton our essential workers depended on public transit. And the growth just kept on climbing to the point that we can't keep pace. You know, we look at the new routes, the new hours needed, we can't keep pace with the demand. And it's something we struggle with. And so when support like this comes from the federal government to support our growth, I want to say on behalf of the city of Brampton, thank you. And I know today's announcement is significant, but when I think about the track record of support, you know, the Canada Infrastructure Bank repayable loan for $400 million to electrify our transit fleet is historic. And is going to make a big difference over the long term with our transit fleet. That announcement was by Catherine McKenna in this very identical spot. And I look at that Canada Infrastructure Bank, and I hope no one gets rid of it, because cities like Brampton depend on it to build a green, efficient, reliable transit system. And then I think of the announcement that Minister Fraser and the Prime Minister made at the GO train station in Mount Pleasant, in Councillor Plesher and Brar's area, with that Housing Accelerator Fund that we've also used for transit and housing. That was a very significant announcement too. And so this is a collection of announcements that allow us to grow our transit system. So it's great to have a federal government that believes in public transit. And I have to say, I was really pleased to see Minister Erskine Smith appointed to this position. There's probably no position in cabinet that affects cities as much as the position that Nate has assumed. And I've watched him in Ottawa, and he was a hard worker, collaborative. He had this podcast. I hope you're still allowed to do the podcast, but he'd actually talk to all MPs, all sides of the aisle, and just try to get things done. And that's the approach we need. Too often, there's these partisan wars, and we don't focus on getting results for residents. And one thing we pride ourselves in Brampton for is we'll work with anyone to deliver for our residents. And I see with the new minister, he has that approach. He's creative, he thinks outside the box, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised that he's here so quickly. When he got appointed a few weeks ago, he probably doesn't even have business cards yet, but he got appointed a few weeks ago. We got on a Zoom call and said, Brampton needs your support. And he said, I'll be there soon. And when a minister in Ottawa says we'll be there soon, that usually means 6 months down the road or a year down the road, because there's 300 plus ridings in the country. But here he is 2 weeks later with good news for the city of Brampton. So on behalf of our council, on behalf of our transit system, and ATU 1573, we've got some of the most dedicated operators in the country that help this transit system function every day. We're grateful for this federal support, and we look forward to welcoming the minister back as often as he wants to visit. Thank you so much.
All right, just hearing from Brampton's Mayor Patrick Brown there, announcing new money for the city's transit system, all thanks to the federal government pledging tens of millions to help the city of Brampton